your favorite surgeons from Grey's Anatomy didn't just walk away. They were running for their lives. One spent years in therapy, just preparing to quit. Another checked into rehab while fighting addiction that started with back pain. A young doctor was diagnosed with mental illness as her body gave out from stress. Behind every dramatic exit was a desperate person who decided that no amount of success was worth the price they were paying. It all started in 2004 when Sandra Rhimes sat down to create something different. She didn't want another typical hospital show. She didn't want women on screen to feel fake, and she definitely didn't want to copy what already existed. That's why even though she was from Chicago, she picked Seattle for her show's setting. ER was already based in Chicago and she wanted a fresh vibe. But the bigger idea wasn't just about where it took place. It was about the people in it. Rhimes wanted women who felt real, not perfect, not polished, just honest. She was obsessed with surgery shows, fascinated by how doctors could talk about breakups while slicing someone open. So, she wrote her characters without race, gender, or even looks in mind. She just wanted the best actor for each part. That's how a diverse, unique cast started to come together. The show was called Grey's Anatomy, but it almost wasn't. At one point, ABC seriously thought about changing the name to Complications. That didn't happen, but what did happen changed everything. ABC had originally planned to air it on Monday nights at 10 p.m. in January 2005. But then at the last minute, they pushed it to March, and instead of Monday, they gave it a Sunday slot, right after Desperate Housewives, the biggest show on TV at the time. That spot was gold. People who watched Desperate Housewives just kept watching. Grey's Anatomy was only supposed to run for 4 weeks as a test. But by the time episode 2 aired, the viewership jumped from 16.25 million to 17.71 million. The audience wasn't just interested, they were hooked. ABC scrapped the 4-week plan and decided to keep it going. By May, they had already made up their minds. Grey's Anatomy wasn't going anywhere. Season 2 turned it from just another medical drama into a giant. The numbers were wild. Over 21 million people were watching each week. Then came the Super Bowl episode and everything changed. 38 million people tuned in. It was one of the biggest TV moments of the decade. ABC had finally found its crown jewel. Viewers were hooked on Meredith, Derek, and Addison. The drama wasn't just inside the hospital. It was everywhere. And once people got pulled in, they never left. The awards followed quickly. Golden Globes, Emmys, NAACP Image Awards, you name it, Grey's won it. Sandra Oh, Katherine Heigl, Isaiah Washington, Chandra Wilson, Jesse Williams, they all took home trophies. Even the casting directors and writers were recognized. Sandra Rhimes' scripts weren't just good, they were powerful. Critics loved the show. Audiences loved the show. It wasn't just a hit. It was a movement. And then something weird happened. People started using words from the show in real life. McDreamy and McSteamy became part of the culture. Everyone had a person after Christina called Meredith hers. You didn't need to be a doctor to talk about coding, scrubbing in, or on-call rooms. The show's language bled into everyday life. People started calling real-life drama a Grey's Anatomy situation. It wasn't just TV anymore. It was how people talked. Then came Thursday nights. ABC made a risky move, putting Grey's on Thursdays at 9 p.m. That time slot used to belong to NBC. But Grey's didn't just survive, it owned it for 18 straight years. Thursday at 9 o'clock meant one thing. Grey's Anatomy. Parents watched it, then their kids did. It became a weekly ritual. No one else stayed that consistent for that long. When they finally changed the time slot in 2024, it actually made headlines. That's how deep it ran. But Grey's didn't just live on TV. It found a second life online, on Hulu, on Netflix. Suddenly, people who were too young to watch it in 2005 were binging 20 seasons in a month. In 2024, it became the most streamed drama of the year. Nearly 48 billion minutes watched. Families sat down together. Mothers who had watched it back then now watching it again with their daughters. It was happening all over again, just on a different screen.
Isaiah Washington was one of the biggest stars on Grey's Anatomy. But what happened behind the scenes in 2006 would change everything for him, for the cast, and for the show. It started one night in October. Filming was running late. Patrick Dempsey showed up late to set, and Isaiah didn't take it well. Some say Dempsey did it on purpose to get back at Isaiah for being late earlier. Whatever the reason, Isaiah lost it. He shoved Patrick against a wall and yelled, "You son of a bitch." Crew members froze. One of them, Marty Carrillo, remembered how Isaiah's eyes widened right after, like he realized he had gone too far. Filming stopped immediately. Everyone was told to go home. But that wasn't the worst part. During the argument, Isaiah said something that would end his career. He used a homophobic slur loud enough for others to hear and aimed it at TR Knight, who wasn't even part of the fight. TR hadn't come out publicly yet. His family didn't even know. The news spread fast. And it didn't just out TR. It forced him to deal with something deeply personal in the most public way possible. Crew members were stunned. TR later said it was the first time anyone had called him that word to his face. He went on Ellen and explained how it shook him. He felt something shift. He couldn't stay silent anymore. So he came out in a People magazine interview. It wasn't how he wanted to do it, but he wanted control of his own story. Isaiah didn't make things easier. A few months later, the show won a Golden Globe. In the press room, instead of letting the scandal die, he made it worse. Reporters asked about the incident, and Isaiah, instead of denying it quietly, repeated the exact slur again in front of the media. "I did not call TRA __," he said. But by repeating it, he caused another explosion. GLA, the major LGBTQ+ rights group, released a strong statement. ABC released one, too, saying his words were unacceptable. The backlash was immediate. Washington apologized. He admitted what he said was wrong, but it was too late. ABC waited until June 2007 to officially fire him. Nearly 6 months after the Golden Globes debacle, many felt the delay showed the network didn't act fast enough. His character, Dr. Burke, was written out of the show in dramatic fashion. He left Christina Young at the altar. That was the end until 2014. 7 years later, fans were shocked when Isaiah returned to the show for one final episode. Not everyone was happy about it, but there was a reason. Sandra Oh, who played Christina, insisted on it. She wanted closure, and she wouldn't leave the show without it. She won that battle, Isaiah later said. Even GLAAD supported his return, pointing to his recent public service announcements, supporting marriage equality. In 2025, Shonda Rhimes, the creator of the show, spoke about the scandal again. She said the cast who lived through that time were still shaken. "People still talk about it," she admitted. Katherine Heigl was on top of the world in 2007. She had just won an Emmy for playing Dr. Izzy Stevens on Grey's Anatomy. But just 1 year later, everything began to fall apart, starting with one sentence. In June 2008, Heigl shocked Hollywood when she pulled her name from Emmy consideration. She said she didn't think she was given good enough material that year to deserve a nomination. The words hit like a punch to the gut. Writers on the show felt blindsided. Shonda Rhimes, the show's creator, stayed silent at first, but deep down something had changed. That single decision created a ripple effect that would follow Heigl for years. She later admitted it wasn't the best move. She told a reporter she was just trying to be honest, but in hindsight, she said it was more like an ambush. Still, the damage was done. Rhimes waited for the right moment and then hit back with a quiet but brutal line. When asked about Heigl, she told Oprah, "When people show you who they are, believe them." The quote wasn't loud, but it was icy, and it echoed across the industry. Writers felt betrayed. The set started to feel tense. The crew could feel it, and everyone knew whether they said it out loud or not. Heigl's time on Grey's Anatomy was almost up. Then came a turning point. In September 2009, Heigl adopted a baby girl from Korea. She called it life-changing. Her priorities shifted overnight. She wanted to be a better mom, not just a better actress. She took a 3-month leave from the show. At first, everyone understood. But when she kept missing work and scripts had to be rewritten again and again, patience started to wear thin. Behind the scenes, she asked to reduce her hours. Talks didn't go well. So, in 2010, she asked to be released from her contract 18 months early. She said it was for her family. But the truth was messier. Producers had simply had enough. By early 2010, things got even stranger. Her character, Izzy, just vanished. One day she was there, the next gone. No big send-off, no dramatic exit, just gone. One of the writers later said they had a plan for Izzy, but Heigl didn't show up to film it. Heigl's side told a different story. They said she was back in LA waiting for the call. Nobody gave her one. It was like a breakup where both
people stopped talking and then one just moved out. When Rhimes finally released her from the show, it was over for good. Izzy didn't come back, not even a goodbye scene. It wasn't until 10 years later that fans even got a hint of closure when Alex Carve left the show to be with her off-screen. But the story didn't end there. In 2014, Rhimes gave another interview, this time about her newer shows. When asked why things were smoother, she didn't hold back. "There are no Heigls in this situation," she said. "I don't put up with __, or nasty people." Everyone knew exactly who she meant. And with that, Heigl's name became a cautionary tale in Hollywood. Producers started avoiding her. People called her difficult. Offers dried up. She wasn't just out of Grey's Anatomy, she was out of the spotlight. In a 2021 interview, Heigl admitted the rumors crushed her. She said the criticism spiraled out of control. She went from honest to difficult to ungrateful in the blink of an eye. Eventually, she had to get therapy to deal with it. She said she felt like a piece of garbage. But in 2022, something unexpected happened. Ellen Pompeo, the face of Grey's Anatomy, spoke up. She said Heigl had been right all along, that she was ahead of her time. And suddenly, the story flipped again. Maybe Heigl wasn't the villain. Maybe she just spoke up too soon in an industry that wasn't ready to hear it. Maybe, just maybe, she was right. But by then, it was already too late. Patrick Dempsey's exit from Grey's Anatomy wasn't just a plot twist. It was a real-life meltdown that had been building behind the scenes for years. By 2015, things had gone off the rails. According to executive producer James D. Harriet, Dempsey had become a serious problem on set. He claimed Dempsey could stop production whenever he wanted and made people nervous just by walking into the room. ABC executives even had to step in and hold private sessions with him. It was that bad. And while there weren't any sexual allegations, the tension was undeniable. By season 11, Dempsey and show creator Shonda Rhimes could barely stand each other. Harriet said they were at each other's throats. Behind closed doors, some crew members thought Dempsey was just unhappy and isolated, especially as the actresses on set gained more influence. They'd report his behavior to Rhimes and the pressure kept building. Then in 2015, the impossible happened. Derek Shepherd was killed off in a car crash. That moment didn't just shock fans. It sent a message. Something had gone deeply wrong behind the scenes. But it wasn't just professional drama. It got personal. Harriet revealed that some cast members were traumatized by working with Dempsey. He said people had PTSD because of the tension he created. That sounds extreme, but multiple sources backed it up in Lynette Rice's book, How to Save a Life. One name that came up again and again was Ellen Pompeo. She and Dempsey played the show's central couple, but off-screen the chemistry had curdled. Former producer Janine Renshaw said Pompeo got frustrated that she was doing double the scenes while Dempsey complained constantly. It didn't help that actor Isaiah Washington, who clashed with Dempsey back in 2007, accused him of being chronically late and holding up production. By the time Dempsey's character died in episode 21 of season 11, the tension had reached its peak. Cast and crew didn't just say goodbye to McDreamy, they breathed a sigh of relief. Then came the most dramatic moment of all. According to insiders, Shonda Rhimes gave the network an ultimatum. She had always protected Dempsey's character because he was the dream man she built the show around. But everything changed once she saw his behavior firsthand. That's when, as producer Renshaw put it, Rhimes snapped. She reportedly told ABC, "If he doesn't go, I go." The choice was clear. Rhimes had built Grey's Anatomy into a global phenomenon. Losing her would have been a disaster. So, the network sided with her. And despite Dempsey having a contract through season 12, his fate was sealed. Within weeks, his death scene was filmed in total secrecy. When the episode aired in April 2015, millions were stunned. No one saw it coming. But behind the scenes, it had been coming for a long time. Dempsey, for his part, didn't pretend to be shocked. He had spent 11 seasons on the show, working 10 months a year, 15 hours a day. He told People magazine in 2016 that it had simply been long enough. He admitted the schedule made it impossible to have a normal family life. Sometimes when his kids asked what he was doing the next day, he couldn't answer. He had no idea. He said he probably should have left the show earlier. Executive producer Pryor agreed. Dempsey was tired, frustrated, and done. He didn't want to keep showing up every day. That attitude rubbed his castmates the wrong way. Especially since someone like Pompeo was carrying much more screen time. In the end, it wasn't just one thing. It was everything. The drama, the complaints, the power struggles. And on April 23, 2015, the episode titled How to Save a Life aired and killed off one of television's most beloved characters. But behind the scenes, it was already too late to save anything. Sandra Oh didn't just walk away from Grey's Anatomy. She had to let go of a piece of herself. Back in 2011, she started therapy. Not because something went wrong, but because she knew one day she'd have to say goodbye to Christina Yang. She gave herself 2 full years. Every session, every journal entry, every quiet moment alone. It was all part of preparing to leave behind a role that had shaped her life. For 10 seasons, over 220 episodes, Christina wasn't just a character. She was part of Sandra. And by the time season 9 ended, Sandra sat down with Shonda Rhimes and simply said, "I'm ready." But the truth is, that decision had been brewing long before. In March 2012, the contracts for the original 6 cast members were up for renewal. Ellen Pompeo, Patrick Dempsey, Justin Chambers, Chandra Wilson, James Pickens Jr., and Sandra Oh. ABC wanted all of them to sign on for 2 more years, and while the others negotiated, Sandra started thinking differently. Season 8 had just aired that devastating plane crash. The show had reached 175 episodes. Sandra was still earning $350,000 per episode, top of her game. But instead of chasing more money, she stayed up at night drawing career maps on paper, trying to figure out what came next. She didn't tell anyone. Not the network, not the fans. Only her therapist and a few close friends knew. By December that year, she had made up her mind. Season 10 would be her last. Her exit wasn't rushed. It took 14 months to plan. Starting in July 2013, Sandra and Shonda met every week. No death, no breakdown, no tragedy. This wasn't going to be another messy goodbye. Like some of the others. Sandra even helped write the scenes. Together, they designed a send-off that matched Christina's ambition, director of a cutting-edge heart institute in Zurich. Sandra even studied real heart surgeons to make it feel true. And when the final episode aired on May 15, 2014, Christina danced it out with Meredith one last time, and then she was gone. By then, Sandra had done 216 episodes. Her character had been through 24 surgeries, 3 near-death moments, a failed marriage, and too many emotional twists to count. She had won a Golden Globe. She'd been nominated for 5 Emmys. She had nothing left to prove, and she knew it. "I gave it my all," she said. And when she looked at Christina, she felt something strange. She said she wants to be let go, too. It wasn't just Sandra saying goodbye. It was Christina, too. But Christina wasn't the only one who left during that time. Eric Dane, Mark Sloan, was fighting a different battle. In 2011, while his wife was pregnant with their second child, he checked himself into rehab. It started with painkillers for a back injury. But it didn't stop there. He had been sober once back in his youth, but on Grey's with the pressure, the fame, and the downtime during the 2007 writers' strike, it got worse. He later admitted, "I was up longer than I was sober." He got clean and returned to work. But something had changed, and by 2012, his time was up. In a Raw interview in 2024, D&E didn't sugarcoat anything. "I didn't leave so much as I was let go," he said. "I wasn't the same guy they hired." There was no big fight, no dramatic ending, just a quiet decision. He wasn't coming back. He even admitted that being called McSteamy gave him anxiety. He never felt like the heartthrob people saw on TV. Behind the scenes, he was struggling with identity, addiction, and pressure. And after Grace, the depression got worse. While filming The Last Ship, it all came crashing down. Money didn't help either. By season 8, the show was expensive. D&E was making around $125,000 an episode, but he wanted $250,000. At the same time, other stars like Chandra Wilson and Kevin McKidd were earning less. The network had a choice. Keep a fan favorite or cut costs. They kept Ellen, Sandra, and Patrick. And just like that, D&E was out. Ironically, later on, HBO's Euphoria, he got $275,000 per episode, more than Grey's ever paid him. Tyler Lee, Lexi Gray, left for reasons that had nothing to do with fame or money. Her body and mind were falling apart. At 29, she had just been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. But the signs had been there since she was 12. She had 3 kids. One was having seizures. Another had autism. At work, she was in full mania mode. She wasn't sleeping. She wasn't eating. Acting became her way to escape. She used the adrenaline to keep going, but it couldn't last. Her husband supported her. The decision to leave was mutual. She needed to get better for herself and for her family. Her exit left a scar. In May 2012, Grey's Anatomy aired the season 8 finale, Flight, a plane crash. Christina, Meredith, Derek, Arizona, Mark, and Lexi were on board. The original plan? Lexi was supposed to die at the hospital from a fall, but Shonda Rhimes knew. That wasn't enough. She rewrote the story. Lexi would die under the wreckage. Mark held her hand. He told her everything they would never get. Marriage, kids, growing old. She smiled, whispered, "Meant to be." Then she died. Mark survived the crash, but only barely. He was kept on life support for 30 days. And then he was gone, too. Seattle Grace Mercy West was renamed Grace Sloan Memorial Hospital in their honor. Years later in 2020, both of them came back in a dream. Meredith was in a coma and they appeared on the beach just for a moment, just long enough for fans to say goodbye again. When Alex Carve disappeared from Grey's Anatomy, no one saw it coming. He was just gone. No warning, no goodbye. His last scene aired on November 14, 2019 in the 350th episode, but nobody knew it was his final moment. After that, episode after episode gave strange excuses. First, they said he was visiting his sick mother. Then, nothing, silence. But this wasn't just any character. Alex had just taken over a hospital. He was helping his wife Jo through serious mental struggles, and he was still Meredith's closest person after Christina left. For 7 full episodes, fans waited. No closure, just questions. Behind the scenes, things were worse. Justin Chambers, the actor who played Alex, was dealing with something serious. In early 2020, reports came out that he had been struggling with stress and depression. Some said he was in and out of a mental health facility. This wasn't new for him. Back in 2008, he was hospitalized for a sleep disorder so severe that he was only getting 1 hour of sleep a week. He said his mind wouldn't stop racing, even when his body was exhausted. He'd lie down, then get up and pace, and this went on for 2 months. He blamed it partly on how deeply he threw himself into roles. "Be careful what you find," he once said. When asked later if he had gone to Preb Suisse, a rehab center famous for treating celebrities, he didn't confirm, just said maybe, and left it at that. Then on January 10, 2020, everything became official. Justin Chambers announced he had left Grey's Anatomy. The statement came out of nowhere. No build-up, no hint. He said he wanted to try new things. He was 50 now with a wife and 5 kids. And he said it was the right time. But the timing shocked fans. He was one of the original 5 from the first episode. He'd stayed through 16 seasons. And unlike other major exits, there was no big farewell. No press, no final interview, nothing. Ellen Pompeo said a few words on Twitter. Most of the cast didn't say anything at all. One actor, Omar Leva, called Chambers honest and humble and said it was time for him to move on. Just like that, another original was gone. Only Meredith Grey was left from the beginning. On March 5, 2020, the show finally explained where Alex had gone. It was a shocker. Through voiceover letters, we learned Alex had found his ex-wife, Izzy. She had secretly used frozen embryos from her cancer treatment. She now had 5-year-old twins, Alex's twins. He left everything behind and moved to Kansas to be with her and the kids. That meant leaving Joe, leaving Meredith, leaving his job. Fans were furious. They felt betrayed. After 16 seasons of growth, Alex just vanished. The show's creators said they had 3 choices. Kill Alex off-screen, pretend he was still around, or reunite him with Izzy. They chose the one they thought was kindest. But not everyone agreed. Still, the episode pulled in 6.3 million viewers, its best rating in 6 weeks. Sarah Ramirez, who played Callie Torres, also made a sudden exit, but with a twist. In 2016, they left after 10 years. And even Shonda Rhimes didn't see it coming. She said she found out only a few days before the public did. Ramirez later said they had hit an emotional wall. They had given everything to the role and needed space to breathe. The writers had luckily already filmed scenes of Callie moving to New York, so her exit wasn't as shocking as others. And since Arizona later moved there, too, their daughter could live with both parents. Ramirez never ruled out coming back, but they haven't yet. Jesse Williams, who played Jackson Avery, had a very different departure. In 2021, he left after 12 seasons, but he helped write his own goodbye. He told the New York Times that his next move had to scare him. He wanted to leave his comfort zone. So Jackson's final storyline had him move to Boston to take over his family's foundation. He wanted to fight racial injustice in healthcare. The storyline matched Williams' real-life activism. His final episode showed heartfelt goodbyes, especially with Meredith. Williams said filming those scenes was super cathartic. After leaving, he took on Broadway. He starred in Take Me Out and got a Tony Award nomination. So yes, the risk paid off. Then there was Ellen Pompeo. After 18 seasons, she decided to step back. In 2022, she reduced her role in season 19. She said it felt